so we have Tanya Raymond joining us today from Growthinc. She is a digital marketing tech specialist. She's the founder of
Mouthful.
Growthinc. Yeah, it's quite the mouthful. That's what happens when you do good work, right?
Yeah.
So she's here to tell us exactly what it is that means and what she does.
Yeah. So yes, it is a mouthful. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm a digital marketing tech specialist. Basically, what that means is that I build custom lead and sales funnels for my clients in the health and wellness industry, so that they can grow their online business, really, because most health and wellness businesses are solopreneurs. And so they have a difficult time getting out of that model of seeing clients one to one and scaling their business. So I help them do that.
Okay, great. I'll tell you what. Can you please elaborate for me what a sales funnel is?
Sure.
Give
So a
me a
sales
better
funnel
idea.
is when an online sales funnel is when you have it's well, basically it looks like a funnel, and people come into your funnel at the top. So it's how they get introduced, it's the awareness of your business, that sort of thing. And then they come along into your funnel as they get more aware of what you do, how you can solve their problem. They come further down your funnel, and the more they understand how you can, like how I can solve their problem in particular, um, and then they get interested in purchasing the services because they understand more of how I can help them. And so they're coming in. So I have like maybe 100 people coming into my funnel who are like, oh, what's this Growthinc business? What does she do? And as they travel along my funnel, as it gets smaller, those people who are interested and see the value that I offer to them in their business, they purchase through that funnel. So am I articulating that well? So yeah, so they're just
Yeah, yeah.
basically, I'm taking about 100 people come into my funnel, let's say, or my client's funnel, and then through the process of marketing, they purchase whatever online offer they're offering. So they're going through that sales funnel to the point
Okay.
of from awareness to buying.
Nice. Okay, tell you what. Why don't you give me an example of what the different steps would be in that funnel?
So yeah, so the first step would be awareness. The
Okay.
second step would be figuring out so awareness and then showing the client how you can solve the problem that they're having. So everybody that's coming to
Okay.
a business has a problem or they're struggling with something, and that business is offering a solution. So the first part is being aware of that the business exists, or being aware that you even have a problem from the client's point of view or from your customer's point of view, let's say. So I have a problem, or I don't know I have a problem. I'm introduced to a business who might have a solution to my problem. And then going through that funnel, you're showing testimonials and your client kind of, the experiences that your client have had maybe with the product. Your client is seeing themselves in that. So they understand, okay, this person can actually help me and they have a solution for my problem. And then, I trust them enough now. I've seen enough of their social media. I've seen enough of their blogs. I've seen enough of their podcasts. I'm ready to purchase from them. Kind of so it's awareness, trust, and then purchase. There's
Okay.
more to it, but that's basically the
Those are the
the
basic
idea of
steps
the
for the
funnel.
funnel,
Yeah.
right? As you move through it. I love it. Okay. Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So, let's talk about how you got started. Like, let's go way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
How did you end up working for yourself, really, but also what was the path of the journey that you think kicked off, ending up, well, how, kicked it off so you ended up where you are now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always kind of known I wanted to have my own business. I was always kind of a free spirit. So I didn't really love the idea of having a boss and that sort of thing. So always in the back of my mind, I thought I'd really love to work when I want, with who I want, how I want, all that sort of stuff. But it seemed like but I never really knew exactly what that business looked like. So I was always, yeah, sure, I'd like a business, but for now, I am where I am. So, yeah, so basically, I was in retail for most of my life for 25 years, and I worked my way through those rankings. And so I was an operations manager in a big box retailer, and I had everything really. I had like the car, the house. I was purchasing a condo. I had money in the bank, benefits, and it was really great. But I was spending most of my time, which is at work, hating it. And so one day I remember going into work and I was like, God, I don't want to go because I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And I was really tired of working myself to the bone for someone else that I didn't even know. And I wasn't helping anybody. I didn't see, I mean, sure, I was helping the people around me, that sort of thing, get through their day or whatever, but I didn't feel like I was really contributing. I thought I could do more with my life, so I was kind of missing something there. And I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. So, we talked about this actually once about I was watching the movie We Bought a Zoo and they were talking about 20 seconds of insane courage or crazy courage. And I decided, all that's right. All I need is 20 seconds to go in, give my 2 weeks notice, say goodbye to my life because I was burning I was burning the boats to quote Tony Robbins. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew that this no longer was the place for me. So I quit my job with no plan, and I don't recommend doing that, by the way, but that's what I did. And I took a few months to figure out what I wanted to do, and that was I wanted to help people, so I went into the health and wellness world, and I became an office manager while taking a course on holistic nutrition. And the goal was to open my own business in holistic nutrition. But in the meantime, my coworker had started her own virtual assistant business, and she said, maybe you should give it a try so that you can, grow your holistic nutrition business while you're still making an income, but you have the freedom to work on whatever you want at the time. And I was like, well, that sounds fantastic. So she actually had a client. I mean, I was super lucky. She had a client that she couldn't take on. So she was like, here's a client for you. And so that's how I got into the world of virtual assistant. That's where my business started. And then I stayed in that, and then I finished my holistic nutrition. I went into a job with that, and then COVID happened. And then I took another 20 seconds of courage and did that. I would do the virtual assistant stuff full time. And because I was actually enjoying that, like my goal of being running a holistic nutrition business, I wasn't feeling that was what I wanted to do. I was having more of a pull towards the virtual assistant world, but helping health and wellness businesses.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I stayed. And then COVID forced me to make a decision to do that full time. So then I started doing that full time. And from there, it's morphed into what my business is today.
Wow, that's awesome. I love the part about the burning the boats. That is the name of the podcast, Crazy Courage. That
Yeah.
is, it takes an insane amount of courage to have it all and then just say, no, not today. Take your courage, screw up your courage, go see your boss, and just drive off with that sense of freedom, but no safety net. That's
Yeah.
that's so scary, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's why I don't recommend doing it that way, but I mean, unless you have some sort of safety net to go back on. But in terms of a career, I wasn't sure where I was going, but I certainly had support in terms of family and friends, which I did lean on. But
Nice.
um yeah, I mean, looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. You're absolutely right. The freedom I felt after that day was like nothing I'd ever. I just felt like like literally chains being taken off me. I didn't have to be anywhere at a certain time. I didn't have to do things I didn't want to do in terms of like, dealing with an angry client
Sure.
25 times a day or something like that. Like I just felt like I was finally in control of my life because up to that point I was very much my career kind of went on its own. It was like had a life of its own, really. It was
Right.
I was doing it for a little while. Someone would see something in me and they'd be like, "Hey, you should apply for this management position." I'd do it. Someone would come in from another company to headhunt me. I'd go there. It was kind of like that. And I never really made the decision to be in the place that I was in
Right, right.
retail. But for my business, I made that decision. All of this has been my choice, my path, my direction. So it's quite empowering to feel that way.
That's awesome. So,
Mhm.
so I mean, from that day when you left that big box retailer to today, you still feel that same freedom?
Absolutely. I mean, the time thing, where I said I show up when I want. Yeah, that of course I actually work more than I probably did in retail, but it's okay because it's something that I know is, well, it's a passion. First of all, which time flies and you don't even know it.
Sure.
And the second thing is that I'm helping people. That the thing that I wanted to do. And what took me from that VA world into this digital marketing tech specialist was I moved from being someone who was doing tasks for the health and wellness industry, which was great. They loved that. I was helping them out in their daily work. But I wanted to be more than that. I wanted to be a partner. So that's how my business really morphed from being a virtual assistant into where it's heading today, which is becoming more of a partner with my clients in
Okay.
terms of the title of my business is Growthinc, and that's always where I wanted it to be. I wanted to help those clients grow their online business. So today in my business, that's where it's heading. I'm heading more into a partnership with my clients rather than just, oh, let me declutter your inbox
Right,
thing is
right,
where I
right, right.
started. I started out as a virtual assistant admin type person, and then they directed me into digital marketing, and then I realized I really loved this digital marketing stuff. So,
Nice. Nice. So yeah,
mhm.
of course, look, your business, of course, you have responsibility to it, and you can't just, drop it you can't take off the drop of a hat because you may have responsibilities. But the difference is that you're choosing this way of working, this way of life, this, like, it's your choice, right? As
Yeah,
opposed to being imposed on you. If you don't want to do something anymore, like, well, I'm not going to do it anymore, right? You can,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's always things that they're not your favorite things to do, but the overall picture, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, and that is helping health and wellness businesses get their programs out into the world, their offers out into the world, and grow their online businesses. Healthier world, let's say, in the grand scheme
there you
of
go.
things. But
There you go.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's great. It's got to be some sort of satisfaction to be gained from doing that kind of work,
Very
and certainly
much.
feeling that you're contributing to someone else's success, and making the world a healthier place. That's sounds like it's
Yeah,
your goal.
yeah. And
Nice.
on that note, a lot of people are like, how did you know you wanted to do that? That sort of thing. I didn't. Like, so I think a lot of people get bogged down with like, oh, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what this is or that is. And like I said, I'm not saying that this is the way you should do it, but I found that along the way. Like I thought, okay, I'm going to be a holistic nutritionist when I first started this journey, and I ended up being a digital marketing tech specialist. Like, how did that, that was the progression. But if anyone out there is thinking, I can't even, no, I can't, if they're thinking the same thing where they're thinking, I don't want to be working, building someone else's dream. I want to create my own dream, but they're like, I don't know exactly what that is. You know, it takes is that 20 seconds of courage, right? To kind of go out there and say, I'm going to find it, if they're able to. I was lucky I didn't have a family, so there wasn't, the only risk was mine. So it was a little less of probably a little less scary than someone who has a family. But if you're like me and you didn't have that, you don't need to know that passion. It will come in front. It'll come. You just have to take that first step.
I guess the idea is that you have to know that you're not in the right place,
Exactly.
and you
Yeah, you just
definitely
have to know
you're
that.
not, yeah, right. Like, your
Yeah,
next big box management position isn't where you want to end up, and if that's the path you're on, you have to know that if you keep going, that's where you're going to end up, and you need that change. Drastic
exactly.
change may be needed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to know the next step. You just need to know that you're not in the right step.
I love it.
Yeah,
How's
yeah.
now? How important was it for you to have a support system in place, with, like, friends and family? Like, how much has that
Oh,
helped you since your big decision?
it's been the only, well, I mean, if I didn't have had it, I'd probably be back in retail. That's how
Okay.
important it was for me because especially without having a plan, that's why I don't recommend doing it without a plan. But if you find yourself in the same position that I am, definitely that was what I needed in order to feel safe somewhat to do what
Somewhat.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. So I knew that I had people there who could help me if I couldn't, if I needed to, financially, if I needed to step down a little bit from like a more expensive place to live or something like that, I could do that. So, I moved back in with my parents for a bit, and most people would be like, "Oh my God, move back in with your parents," but I was willing to do that, for 6 months just in order so that I could figure out what my next move was.
Right.
And I had that. A lot of people don't have that, so I was very fortunate to have that, and friends as well. When I took a less paying job, I was a roommate to my friends and that sort of thing. So it was I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. So
Yeah.
definitely very lucky.
It's tough giving up that financial lifestyle that you've built for yourself. Like you said, you had it all, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, I have it all, but I don't have what I want. Like that's, I get it. That's interesting way to put it. I like it. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
very difficult to give up for sure. So all the things you're giving up, but what you gained was your sanity. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I gained my sanity, and what even bigger than that is a sense of myself. Like I said, driving your own bus, as as my business coach calls it, is like something I've never experienced before. When you are making all the decisions in your life, because your job is such a big part of your life, and I wasn't. Sure, I was in control of it. I mean, I was applying for jobs and that sort of thing, applying for management positions, but um running my own business, morphing it from the virtual assistant that I was into the marketing specialist, like those are all decisions that I made for myself and for what I was interested in, and how I could help the people that I wanted to help. So it's quite empowering, and it's I thought I was this great empowered independent woman, which I was at the time, but it's nothing like I feel today about myself.
Now that one word resonates, I'm sure much clearer now that strong independent. You said now the
Yeah,
independent really stands out, right? Like
yeah,
you're doing it on your own. This is your path. It's not the path someone else has chosen for you. It's
right. It's designed
that's
by
awesome.
me. Yeah. Hmm.
Designed by you. Exactly, exactly. I love
Hmm.
it. Now you did mention that you have a business coach.
Hmm.
How does that coach help you? Has that coach helped you in the evolution of your business, in what your plans are?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple things that she did that really helped me move forward. One was the whole find your best thing. And what that basically means is, in my business, I'll use my business as an example. I, being a digital marketing specialist, I use specific technology to build their
Right.
sales funnels. And there's about a million softwares out there that can do this. So I specialize in particular software. And what was happening is when I got into this kind of realm of my business, I was getting clients that had all sorts of software. So they might be using WordPress as a website, or they'd be using Squarespace, or they'd be using Wix, or they'd be using Showit, or whatever that case may be. Then for their email marketing software, they may be using ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or Flowdesk, anything like that. And so I was finding myself like every time I had a new client, I had to learn a new software. And
Oh,
so it was
ouch.
becoming, yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, I don't know this. And so you'd be quoting a price, but I'd be spending like 4 extra hours trying to figure out the software. And the more software they're a lot alike. And so it gets faster, but still, you don't want to be spending all your time figuring out software. So my business coach was like, you got to find your own bus, and the people who like your bus will get on your bus, and they'll take the next bus. And what that means is, like, for example, I specialize in Active Campaign as my email service provider. So my clients come, if they have Active Campaign, they get on my bus. If they don't have Active Campaign and they don't want to use Active Campaign, there's the next bus coming up behind me who can help them. And I thought when she first said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Are you kidding me? Like, what about all the people I'm leaving behind? Like, I don't want them to go to the back bus. I want them to go on my bus. And she's like, yeah, but are you happy with that? Like, you don't seem happy. You're trying to change it. And I was like, yeah, well, you're right. So I got it. I got it pretty fast. And then when I started to get clients who only wanted to be on my bus, who wanted to use Active Campaign, which I knew like the back of my hand, and I could use it fully for them because it's a big software. and they're paying for that software and they weren't even using it close to its ability. And so
Okay.
I show them all these opportunities they get, and they're like, "Oh my god." And so it really opened my eyes to, like, one, I can serve my client so much better, and two, my life is happier, my business runs better, and it's more profitable because I'm able to charge more because I'm a specialist in that now.
Okay.
Um, and my client gets everything to gain from it. So it was a big transition for me, but it was such an eye opener and something I'm always thinking about. I'm like, it's okay. They're not on my bus. They're meant for the bus behind me, and that's okay. That's a better bus for them, you know.
And that's got to be tough because when you're day one starting a new business, you're not like, I'm sorry, this is an exclusive bus. Like when you're day one, you're thinking, look, I'll take anyone. I don't
Yeah.
care if they're bus fare or whatever. Like you can pay me in
Yes.
lint.
Yeah.
So clearly, I mean, there's been you've come a long way from just trying to, I guess, get every client that you can, no matter what software they're using, no matter
Mhm.
what headaches they're bringing you. You just want clients, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone's got to eat, right? Like you said, it's
Yeah,
great to have a support
absolutely.
system and stuff, but you know,
Yes.
you do
And
have
don't
to
get
eat,
me wrong,
right?
like, I took everything, like, and I was happy to do
Right?
so because you're right, I had to pay the bills, and it's definitely probably not a starting place that everyone will will start. This is my bus. It's also something you grow into because I
Grow
don't
into,
believe in
right?
most businesses when you're first starting out, you're like, "Oh, this is my bus." I don't even think you know what your bus is.
No,
Um,
right?
so that's something that definitely comes as you grow. But absolutely, but I'll tell you this: when I started to do that, when I started to follow that, nope, this is my bus. They are not. This isn't their bus. They can move to the back, to the next bus. When I started to really understand that, I actually started to get better clients. Like I started to get to attract better clients. I don't know if you believe in that or anything, but
Sure.
I just started to things started to get more momentum for me in this realm. So I was getting less of the people interested in the tasking in their digital marketing and
Okay.
getting more of the clients that I really wanted. And that was also another eye opener on why I'm sharing it, because even though that is scary, to think of that, all the people you're leaving, for someone else to take,
Yeah.
it actually clears the path for you. You're more focused. And the more focus and clarity you can have in your business, the better your business will be.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. I love
Hmm.
that bus analogy. That's fantastic. So obviously, clearly, there's we're talking about how you're taking every client, and now you're only taking the clients that I guess you feel you will work well. And because before, like you said, you were a task person for these clients, but now you're a partner, right? Which I feel makes if you're trying to help someone grow their business, that's a big difference in a way to
Yes.
look at it.
Yeah. 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 And it's
Yeah.
hard to do that. Hard to grow someone's business when you don't really understand what the technology they're using.
Right.
If you're just kind of
Right.
piecemealing things together and you're like, well, it works. Good luck, kind of thing. Whereas, yeah, and when I'm partnering, what I can do is, because what in my world, what happens in online marketing is a lot of times they offer their offer,
Right.
and then, like, let's say, in the health and wellness industry, a yoga instructor offers a class or a set of classes. Those classes are over. She's going to offer them again, maybe 2 months down the road or the next month or something like that. So with me, every time they offer that, someone goes through the funnel, that sort of thing, we get to understand, okay, well, why did they come to you? Was their experience good? And what can we do the next time to make that experience better? What can we do the next time so that, those emails work better, or the social media works better, or, so every time that they release that online offer, their business gets better. They grow more easily. And so that's the partnering that I do with them. So every time that they launch those online offers, they get better and better, and they bring in more income and more income. And their clients get a better result.
Oh, I mean, and that clients get a better result. Your client gets a better result. Everybody wins. That's
Yeah,
that's where the
everybody
growth
wins.
comes from, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. So I
Yeah.
guess, I mean, in terms of your value proposition, I guess I think you're kind of speaking to it where, when you first start out, you're like, okay, I want some clients. I'm going to charge them X amount, and I don't know what they need me to do. They're going to come to me with some random thing. I don't know what I'm going to charge them because I don't know what software they're going to come to me and say, hey, I need you to do this, and I'm using this software. They're like, okay, I've never used it before. I'm going to learn it for you. And, just that's very difficult to try to assign a value, whereas once you're at a point where you're a specialist, for instance, like now, you're like, look, I've taken all these courses, I've done all the research, I've worked with this software for a long time. A lot easier to assign value now and partner up with your clients and say, hey, this is the value I'm bringing to the table, as opposed to, if you have all these people bringing different pieces of software, like, ooh, I don't know what the value would be for that, I don't know what the value would be for the other thing. And but you really, does it make sense that now you've got a better sense of the value that you're providing and you can assign, a dollar amount to that value?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Because absolutely. Because now I know, there's a lot of things that are known now, right? So I know exactly how long it's going to take. I know exactly what to put in place in order for your funnel to perform the best it can perform on the first go.
Right.
Because usually they're
Right.
coming to me on their first launch. So absolutely. So it's made my business easier almost, right? So now I know better what to charge. I have systems in place for my clients. So yeah, absolutely. This whole finding your bus has been one of the biggest impacts on my business
Well,
so
that's awesome.
far.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
You should let your business coach know that.
Yeah.
They should do,
Shout out.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, I can just imagine, yeah, how it would feel to have someone come at me with different projects and pieces of software. Hey, you need to learn this, you need to learn that. And you're like, no, no, come on, my boss. We'll figure it out together. We'll, get lost along the way. And it just, it's tough, right? But I get that. You're trying to build a business to start and you're trying to figure out what works and what you want to do. And, I guess, and I think it's tough, right? No matter, and you see this in all walks of life, right? You can read as many books as you want, you can take as many courses as you want, but until you're actually doing it, I don't think you can appreciate how that job or that the work actually is. Like until
Hmm.
you're in it, like there's no
Yes.
manual that can help you figure out your own business, right?
Oh, I wish. You're right. Absolutely right. It's podcasts like this.
Right? Just kind of it's all just the first episode of the
Yeah.
podcast, just figure it out. Like there's no, I mean, I've looked, I'll tell you just for my own thing, I did some research on how to do a podcast and, all the different software you have to figure out, learn and equipment and whatever. You're like, okay, great. But at the end of the day, most of the time, what you're hearing about is how it worked for someone else based on what they were doing. Right. And when you start your own business, you're forging your own path. No
Yeah.
matter if you're doing something that someone else has already done, you're maybe in a different location, you're working with different clients, you have a different niche, like you're in health and wellness, right? So to find someone in the health and wellness industry that's doing exactly what you're doing, I would imagine be very difficult, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's your own path, and there's no way to know how that path is going to unfold until you take that first step and burn the boats, right?
Yeah. Very much. Yeah. Like it's that whole commitment.
Yeah, right.
The commitment to being like, I'm just going to do this. And, time frames were really helpful too. So I'm going to do this for this amount of time and see what happens. I'm just going to put it all in, see what happens. And then you reach that kind of milestone. And then, what's the next milestone and what's the next milestone? And that may not be clear, but you know it when you get there. And because,
Right.
you're like, okay, I'm ready to move from hourly. I'm tired of trading time for money. Now I'm going to move, I'd like to move into projects, scale my business that way. What's the next, what's the next step? How am I going to scale again or whatever that may be for your business? But yeah, it's definitely, there's no manual for a business. That's exactly right. There's
Right?
nothing more to say there. There's absolutely,
It
there's
is
no
like,
manual. You just have to jump in and live it.
yeah,
And
like
yeah,
I feel like you can watch whatever videos and go to whatever seminars and read whatever books and hear from whatever guru about how they built their business and they were sleeping in a car at someone else's couch or whatever, and now they're like rich and famous and it's great. That was their
yeah,
path. And it
yeah,
doesn't apply to you. I mean, look, you can take inspiration. I get that, and you can be motivated to do it. But the end of the day, when you're down that path, that's you. You're on your own. Like whatever guru there, his path was different, and he
yes,
did it at a different time. You're hearing about where that person is now. And those lessons that they learned might not apply because they were different location, different circumstances that years ago,
hmm,
they were the ones who did it first and now everyone's doing it. So now there's no point,
yes,
you'd just be another name. So it's not that simple.
yes,
I can, I can appreciate how it's difficult to carve your own niche in the stone and carve your own
yeah,
path. It's,
yeah. Especially like when I first started in the virtual assistant business, which is about 5 years ago. They were just starting. Like businesses were just hearing about this thing called virtual assistant. Some people thought it was like an AI thing. And but so I had to explain what that was to a lot of businesses. And now today it's pretty prevalent. Businesses all know what a virtual assistant is. They
right.
all want one and
Right.
that sort of thing. So there certainly weren't even courses out there that were, a lot of them anyway, that were like, okay, this is how you build a virtual assistant business.
Right.
So it was kind of like really um, before any, what's it called when you don't have like there's no rules, there's no laws, it's like
Right. Right.
the Wild
The
West,
Wild
yeah,
West.
the Wild West of the business world when I was really trying to get in there. So yeah, it's just been kind of trial and error and jumping in. It's all about that courage to just jump and take the risk every single day, like you're taking a risk every day. That's tough in the beginning, but it becomes comfortable after a while because you have to take those risks. I'm still scared to death to do so many things today, but you kind of have to embrace um that idea of risking everything every day, and that risk of or the idea of being uncomfortable every day.
Uncomfortable. Right.
Uncomfortable, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like putting yourself out there on a podcast, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like for me on my first podcast, yes.
It's all about, what how else can I make myself uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly.
awesome. So, okay, let's talk about this. How scary is it day one burning the boats compared to today? Is it the same? Do you still have like, because day one burning the boats, a lot of uncertainty, right? Clearly,
Yes,
especially based on your story, you had no plan.
yeah.
So compare that day one to today. How do you feel?
Um, Definitely when I burnt the boats, it was that's a great question because when I did it the first, like when I first quit my job and decided, yeah, this is it. I was so happy.
Okay.
And I had that support system which I
So
already
wait,
put in
what?
place.
Were you so happy that you forgot to be scared? Is
Yeah,
that
almost. That's the way it went. Like it almost was, and maybe that's a unique situation for me and why I was able to do it because I
nice?
was almost so happy to have done that and so proud of myself to have done that because not everyone does that. So
No,
I
clearly.
was I was proud of myself for one of the first times in my life, like really proud of myself, and I owned it, which was something that I didn't do often. And so that was really great. And then reality clicked in, and I was like, oh, the money's gonna go.
Right,
So
right.
you can't stay in this place forever. So that was scary because what do I do? What's that? What's that? What is the next thing? What's the mistake I'm gonna, like, am I gonna make a mistake? Is this the right path? Am I gonna be down this road for 5 years and then change my mind? Like, what do I do next? Versus today where I'm pretty clear on my path now. Like I
Okay.
have had all these experiences that have given me the confidence to know that I'm gonna figure it out. And that's probably one of the biggest benefits for me in this journey is that gaining the confidence of you're going to figure it out. Like, you've gotten yourself this far. You've gone through all of this. Then, you just have to know a little bit, and you just have to take a few action steps to get so far. And then the next stage will open up. I've learned to
Yeah.
trust that.
How long did it take you to learn to trust that?
Probably after COVID. Like
After
when
COVID? Okay.
yeah, when COVID happened, I know a lot of businesses struggled with COVID, but mine
Yeah.
actually flourished.
Okay.
Um, and I realized, wow, my business survived COVID. And it kept, and it morphed again. And then when I morphed, I went, because business is never like this. Business is always like,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so I was kind of going like this in my morphing into this digital marketing stuff because my client changed. So
Right.
I had to find that client and that sort of thing. And I'm still working that out. But I know I have the confidence in myself to know that they're there. There is a market for this. My clients need this service. So I know, like, so yeah, it took after COVID is when I really started to understand that, what, I can trust myself a little bit more. I don't fully, completely trust myself all the time, but
I mean, you
I,
can't.
I,
You're human. That's
yeah,
right.
I'm human. So yeah, but I do know that I'll figure it out. I do know I
Okay.
can figure, even if all of this ended, yes, tomorrow,
Yeah.
um, I still have that confidence in me. I'll figure it out.
That's big.
Yeah, it
Knowing
is.
that you're gonna figure it out, whatever, knowing that you're gonna figure it out. That's big because
Yeah,
life is gonna throw you a curveball at some point, and you're like, I'll figure it out. As long as you
yeah,
know you can do it, that's half the battle, right?
exactly. Yeah, and that's what business has done for me because if you man, like getting your first client, getting your second client, and then getting your third client. Like the first client, maybe you're lucky. Your second client, maybe a little less lucky, but you're still kind of lucky. And your third client, you're like, no, you know what? I
Hold
did
on.
that on my own.
Yeah, I'm onto something. All right.
Yeah, I'm onto something here. So, and each client you get more confident, and then, eventually you're like, the future is always scary. Actually, this brings me to another point that my business manager coach helped me with, and that was look at staying present. So
Okay.
running my business from a present state, not running it from a future state. And
Okay.
what I mean by that is I tend to stop and not move when I'm thinking about, well, what will this be in the future? So if I do this now, how will that be in the future? So I don't know, if I make this change to go to a digital marketing specialist today, what if it doesn't work tomorrow? you know, but if I stay in that mindset, I don't move. I stay frozen. And so it became really important to me to take day by day, plan out my day, do those action plans that are set up for my future,
Okay.
but I can't think about what those outcomes are.
You're not living
'Cause
in the
it-
future. You're
yeah,
planning
right.
for it.
Planning for it, but not living there.
Right.
and
Right.
because I
Right.
had done that for a while, because it's so scary, because you're like, every change you make, you're like, okay, I still have to pay the bills and I still have to get food on the table. So, is this the right decision? Well, you did the research, you looked at competitors, this isn't a new service. You know that the people can benefit from it, your clients can benefit from it. Put your plan in place and stay focused on the present, because I have no control of the outcome. you know
Yeah. Right. Right.
yeah, and so that was a pretty big lesson for me as well. And I know now that if I am not moving, if I'm stuck, if I'm not moving forward with something, it's because I'm living in the future. I'm living in the, what if this doesn't work? Because it's
Wow.
never, what if it really works? it's,
No, no,
it's
right.
always like, what if
That's a
it
doubt.
doesn't work?
Yeah, yeah, the doubt comes back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? Because if I was thinking both, I'd be like, well, what if it really works? It wouldn't be a problem. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just stay in the present, work on my plan, and yeah, that's what I try to do now, and it keeps me moving forward with less fear.
Moving forward, less fear. Okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
That's great. I mean,
yeah,
I guess you have to look back to when you were taking those first steps, knowing that each step was building on the other. You weren't jumping ahead 10. You were one at a time, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
listen, going back a quick sec, I just
Mhm,
wanted to ask you. Now, you wanted to get into the health and wellness, right?
mhm.
specifically into that industry. Now, when you started out, uh, were you did you niche down right away, or were you taking every client that you could in every area? How
Hmm.
did that work?
I let people know that I did. So the one thing I did, sorry, back up. No, I absolutely did not niche down in my
Okay.
first couple of years of business because I didn't really know what I was doing. I niche, what was that? I had no idea what that was. And as I got, um, I started taking business courses and that sort of thing, and they started talking about this niche stuff, and
Don't
I was
talk
like,
about it, right?
yeah,
But
talk
it's
about
scary.
it.
And you're like, but no, I don't want to let the other clients go.
Exactly.
I need a client. I can't just niche down. I can't. I don't even. How do I? I can't even find my niche. Let alone. I just
Right?
need right something. So I get that.
And
Yeah.
and and what's so funny is I deal with every single one of my clients because I'm in the marketing realm. We have to know what their niche is. Like, who are you talking to? Who are you speaking to? And every
Right.
single, almost all of my clients still who've been in business for years are like, ooh, I don't want to talk to just one client because I might lose all the
Right.
other ones, and that's always the fear. But, there's, it's just not the way that that works.
Now,
But
have you found?
absolutely,
Let me ask this: have you found that those clients that were afraid to define their target market, that they
yeah.
would struggle, or they would have um, challenges when it came to their marketing?
Yeah, like, well, they would struggle with the idea of same as me when I first
Right.
started with the niching, right? They would be like, well, if I talk to that one client, won't I lose all the other clients?
Right.
But the biggest lesson there is if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, you
Right.
know, and that's the biggest takeaway that I ever took from that. And it's true. Try to market to anybody talking to everybody. What do you say to them? Hey, everybody, come use my services.
Hey,
But if you're
everybody and
saying,
anybody. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, anybody and
Yeah.
everybody come. And,
Yeah.
and sure, you can do that when you have, a million followers or something like that.
Sure.
But for most of us, we're dealing with, small amount of followers, a few people on our email list and stuff like that. And we're trying to grow this business. You don't have that luxury. So
Yeah.
you really have to speak to the person you want to work with. And
Okay.
so that was really difficult for me in the beginning because I was under the impression, I'm like, are you kidding me? I do have to pay the bills, and if I speak only to that person and I don't find them tomorrow,
Right. You
how am
don't.
I going to
Yeah.
eat next week? Yeah. So, it's you can't, I'm sure there are some people that do it right off the bat and are successful at it and they're, confident in that. I was not.
Okay.
I'm glad I did it the way I did because I did get a bunch of different businesses in. I got great experience dealing with different types of businesses. And from there I slowly, even without even really understanding what a niche was, I was slowly moving my business. I resonated with the health and wellness industry. Like they just once they knew that I was a holistic nutritionist, they were like, "Oh, you get my business." So they were
Right.
coming to me. Yeah, so that we had this connection, and so they just started to pop up, and then word of mouth, and then I was like, well, I should just, yeah, it's time for me to niche. Like,
Then you're
so
okay. Yeah.
now,
Then it's okay. You give yourself permission to. Yeah. Right.
exactly,
I
it's all
get it.
that
It just
whole
sounds intuitive.
confidence.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was
Yeah,
that?
I mean, yeah, I get it. When you're starting out, it just seems so counterintuitive to narrow down to like one client. They're like, but I need more than one. So
Yeah.
how do I? And I, yeah,
Yeah. So it's always a little bit difficult to go through that journey with clients who haven't niched down or haven't really understood this concept, but it's been one of the biggest, it's another big impact on my business as well, niching and finding that target audience that I want to work with. Plus it makes your days enjoyable as a business owner. You're working with the people who you really want to work with.
right, right.
Mhm.
The whole point,
Mhm.
yeah, the whole point that you wanted to be in health and wellness. If you're not talking to those people, sure, of course, there wouldn't be as much satisfaction. Maybe trying to grow businesses outside of that niche.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense. All
Yeah.
right, so tell you what, we've talked about where you are. We've talked about where you've come from, how you got here. What does the future look like for Growthinc?
Yeah. So I mean, ultimately what I would like is I love this path. So I'm just starting to morph my business down this whole digital marketing specialist thing and enjoying that. But I would really like to teach people, eventually I'll have a course on how to teach people to do what I do. It's a very specialized field in what I do, and businesses have no time to learn technology. They don't want to, and they don't have the time. They just want it to work. And so that's what kind of where I come in, and they want to know the plan, like how does it all come together? How does this strategy grow my business? That sort of thing. So I can help them with that. And I think it's a great path for virtual assistants. People who are doing VA work now are eventually going to come to the idea that I don't want to trade, or for those who don't want to no longer trade my time for money, they're going to be looking for the next step. And so I'd like to be the one to show them that path. So I see me moving into that realm, and just niching my for the services that I offer, niching even further and further down, so that I'm always working with that ideal client, understanding the technology in their business and how I can marry the two so that they can grow their business exponentially, and just really getting better and better at that for my clients, so that you can really see some growth there. But yeah, so there's kind of two places. I'm just improving on where I am now, and
Right.
getting better at what I do, offering more value to my clients, being a better partner with them. And then on the side, I can see me really teaching out how to build a business like this for others, because it's changed my life. And I think I could change other people's lives.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, you definitely want to spread that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So, without giving away your whole course or anything you're working on, is there any advice that you can give to people on how to just keep going day to day?
Um, yeah, I guess, if you can, this is really difficult, but it was, again, another lesson that I'm still learning this one, though. So it's a tricky one. But if you can detach yourself from your business, and what I mean by that is, I was always, do I like this? So, like, everything that I was doing in my business, I'd be putting it, like, I'll use social media because it's the easiest example to do. I was posting on social media, and I'd be like, oh, I don't like that. Oh, no, actually, I'll use a different example. A pop-up. Okay, so when you go to a website, and a pop-up comes up on their website, so you're reading their website, and then a thing comes up that says, sign up for this, or,
Oh yeah,
get your discount, or something
sure.
like that. And
Yeah.
some people love them, some people hate them, most people hate them, and they click out on it to continue on the website. Most business owners hate them. But the thing is that they convert like one of the best things possible on a website. So
Really?
I'm constantly saying to my clients, they're like, I recommend a pop up. They're like, no, I hate those pop ups, and I'm like, but this isn't for you. It's for your client.
All
So
right.
detaching yourself from your business a little bit, seeing everything from your client's eyes and not your eyes, will be a big impact on your business, because now you're serving your client. You're not serving yourself. So, yes,
Right.
you're here to give them ultimately what you offer, but you have to detach yourself so that it's not so personal. So if you
I
don't
can
like
see that.
something, you have to
Sure.
look at it the bigger,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
the big.
I can totally understand that because it is personal. These people have, like yourself, have built up this business from a lot of times from the ground up. It's their own blood, sweat, and tears that went into getting it to where it is today. So any kind of feedback that they receive, like, oh, I don't like your website, I don't like this, they take it personally, like it's a personal attack, even though it's some sort of criticism on the or it's feedback for the business itself. It's not,
Yeah,
it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
yeah,
Your business, people
yeah,
criticize. It's the
yeah,
nature of the beast, right?
exactly.
I don't like the pop up. I do like the pop up, or it's simple things like
Yeah,
that. You're like, but it took me hours to design that pop up, and you're being mean to me. I
yeah.
get it. So I can see how detaching yourself would be important because it's
Yeah, yeah,
for
and to go
business.
along with that idea of the pop-up is, data. So for my clients, I set up data for their sales funnels, so that, you were talking earlier about, the guru that says, oh, this is how you should set up your business, and then you set up your business, and you're like, well, it didn't work out the same way as he said it was going to work out, because
Yeah,
that was his business, not
yeah,
or her business, not your business. And so same with me, sales funnels, there's lots of sales funnel gurus out there that will say, this is how you set up your sales funnel, do it this way. And then my clients will set it up that way, and then they're like, but it's not converting, and I'm like, okay, well, let's look at the data. And they're like, what data?
Data you speak of.
What's that? And so anyways, but data is a way to detach from your business, because if you don't like a pop-up and I say, let's give it a go, and you add a pop-up to your screen, and then you look at the data, and the data's like, you're getting 30% of your conversions from your pop-up like on the background, you're like,
Yep.
oh, right, then I keep
Stuff
the
to
pop-up.
ignore. Right.
Instead of being like, I really don't like that pop-up, I'm gonna get rid of it, and then you're like just lost 30% of your sales, without
Yeah,
even
wow,
really understanding.
those are big numbers to be, throwing away if that's what,
Yeah,
but if the
yeah,
data would tell you, what's working and what's not. Not, yeah, like you said, detaching yourself from the business will help you see, the forest for the trees, I guess.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice. All right. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, that's pretty much all. You
Well,
got
that was
everything out of me, I
oh,
think.
not at all. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. All right. So we were just having a quick chat with Tanya Raymond from Growthinc. She's a digital marketing tech specialist, and she is here to help you with your sales funnels if you're in the health and wellness industry.
Yes,
Anyway, thank you,
perfect.
Tanya. I appreciate you joining us today, and
Thanks so much.
hopefully we'll talk to you soon, maybe for an update in the future.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks.